The nature of acids is a very interesting topic to go over because it's going to lay a foundation for us to understand why acids behave the way they do and how they affect us the way they affect us and the way they affect a cell eventually. And it has a lot to do with the nature of acids being dehydrating. It's going to go into the whole aspect of atoms and how atoms, if you've ever studied chemistry, basic chemistry, it's very simple. Every atom has an electron cloud, and that electron cloud is not always a full cloud of electrons that really satisfies the atom. So what atoms tend to do is connect to other atoms, creating compounds. So a very basic compound is the water molecule, and the water molecule is 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen atom. And in them not being, the hydrogens and the oxygen, in them not being satisfied themselves with their electron needs or their clouds, they tend to bond together. And in bonding together, they then, as a molecule, as a collection of atoms, as a molecule, they satisfy this electron need. Their what's called the valence, electron valence, is satisfied. And in satisfying it, the water molecule becomes a neutral molecule that is non-reactive with other compounds in the environment, and that's how water became a universal solvent that, when we want to test our pH of what chemistry is within the water, we find that we put the pH strip and we can determine, there's more acid or more alkaline. It's because the water molecule as a medium fulfilling the volume of space has certain chemistry in it that can be on the acid side of chemistry or on the alkaline side of chemistry. We see that there is a certain dynamic there when it comes to the molecules, that these molecules are going to be reactive to each other or non-reactive to each other depending on whether their electron cloud, their valence altogether is satisfied. Now, when it comes to acids that are compounds, it can be any toxin, any acidity, that compound chemical is acid because it's lacking that valence, it's lacking that electrical needs, that electrons in its orbital. And in lacking that, it would want to satisfy it by making bonds with other materials in order to satisfy it. So that's very basic. So basic that I'm sure you understood it, and if not, just review this again, just slowly. But the idea is that you are going to see how when you are consuming food, an acid-forming food, for instance, like anything cooked or dehydrated or processed, where the electricity has been stripped away from it, those materials are going to require a fulfillment of their needs, their electrical needs. And so when these acids, they course through our blood or through our systems, they interact with the alkaline tissue cells as they flow through. And those acids, because of their nature of not being satisfied, they will interact with the components of the cells. And in seeing that the components do hold electrical value that they seek to fulfill in themselves, they'll weld with that component. And what happens when a chemistry that is acid is welding with a component of a cell is that that component of the cell gets transfigured. It affects its configuration. And as we know, every cell has components that is specific for a task. If you change the component, it changes its function. And so in the acid interacting or welding with that component of the cell, it can really influence and affect the function of that component. And in affecting the function of components, you can compromise the integrity of the cell membrane, of the cell organelles, of all different components and processes within the cell. And so that's what's leading to disruptions and malfunctions within cell performance. And that's where we see that the cell becomes weaker and unable to carry out the same amount of function. And that's why acids they have this effect on us. And so they affecting us because of their dehydrating effect. And so they weld with chemistry, and if they course through our bodies, if we pour an acid chemistry into our bodies, that acid chemistry is going to now interact with other chemistries. And the chemistries that we find that we have in our body is our cell components, or the components that you find in the blood, or the components you find in the lymphatic system, or the components that you find anywhere within this body that is full and saturated with chemistry. You'll find that this chemistry that you're pouring in is going to interact with it, and if it's on the side of the acids, it's going to have a dehydrating effect that is obstructive. And the obstructive nature of it is in how it welds and melds with the components and disrupts their structure, and in disrupting their structure, you're disrupting its function. Very basic stuff. And so the whole idea is that we want to avoid consuming these types of foods because we want to start removing that obstructions by first avoiding bringing in more of that type of chemistry that is transgressive against our biology. So I hope that makes sense, that what I told you broke it down really simply for you, that's the nature of acids. They are dehydrating, they're agglomerating, they're welding chemistry, and they're just disruptive. And there will be an obstructive material within your body. Your body is going to produce these protection mechanisms to buffer the acidity from being contacted with the alkaline chemistry of our cells. And that's something that we learn in the next lessons. So thanks for listening. You guys have a lovely day, wherever you are.